Can I get some water? I really did need a glass of water. This is kind of stuck.
I'll recall, just flashback to 2016 and the years after, the entire Trump 1 presidency was embroiled.
Really, it's deeply disturbing to them that Obama campaigned on this idea of protecting our border.
Because we all used to agree on it.
You know what? If I could make an arrangement where I had a stand-in, a front man or front woman, and they had an earpiece in, and I was just in my basement in my sweats.
That President Trump never had anything to do with Russia, and the Russia collusion hoax was a massive fraud.
Rivers said that Michelle Obama was a man before she died.
Look, the president believes that this matter needs to be thoroughly investigated, and anyone convicted of crime should be held accountable in this country.
It begins with an image so absurd it borders on satire. Barack Obama, the man once hailed as the golden voice of modern politics, pauses mid-speech in Flint, Michigan, to request a glass of tap water. Cameras flash, reporters lean in, and he carefully raises the glass to his lips. The moment is staged to inspire trust, but instead it reeks of performance. What should have been a symbol of empathy becomes the very definition of a stunt.
Yeah, he drinks it like this. Watch this.
Can I get some water? I really did need a glass of water. This is kind of stuck.
Usually when something isn't a stunt, you have to say
It's
that.
100% a stunt. When was the last time a president stopped a speech to ask, "Can I get a glass of water?"
Obama insists it's not theatre, but in truth, theatrics have always been his strongest currency. And now, years later, that image returns like a ghost in the conversation between Karoline Leavitt and Joe Rogan, two voices cutting through the polished veneer to reveal what they call the hidden past of Obama.
President Trump believed that President Obama should go to jail for something.
Look, the president believes that this matter needs to be thoroughly investigated, and anyone convicted of crime should be held accountable in this country.
Rogan doesn't mince words. Once a believer in Obama's intelligence and charisma, he now calls him a liar. The turning point. The infamous very fine people narrative. Obama, along with much of the media, framed Trump as having praised white supremacists, when the full transcript told a different story. In Rogan's words, it was so clear, but they still lied. That, he claims, was the moment the mask slipped. Leavitt agrees. She describes Obama as the architect of political illusion, a man whose greatest gift wasn't policy, but branding. And once you dig past the surface, the record is far from inspiring. The economy.
Rivers said that Michelle Obama was a man before she died.
Was it a joke? I thought it was a joke.
I thought it was a joke too, but the way she said it wasn't like jokey.
Yes, it survived 2008, but limped rather than soared. Job creation dragged, debt ballooned, and millions were left behind. Yet his supporters spoke of miracles. Why? Because the presentation was impeccable. The Spotify playlists, the celebrity dinners, the carefully timed jokes on late-night TV. America wasn't given progress. It was given packaging. Foreign policy? Even darker. Libya shattered into chaos. Syria collapsed into a blood-soaked nightmare, his infamous red line melting into a pink blur. Drone strikes skyrocketed, killing not only targets but wedding parties. And yet Obama would step to the podium afterward, deliver a flawless speech, and the media would praise his eloquence, rather than question the blood spilled.
That President Trump never had anything to do with Russia, and the Russia collusion hoax was a massive fraud, perpetuated on the American people from the very beginning. And the worst part of this is Obama knew that truth.
Leavitt cuts especially deep on this point. She compares Obama's presidency to a heavily filtered Instagram feed. Flawless lighting hiding deep cracks. Social media posts from the era echo her sentiment. Tweets and Facebook threads resurfacing today highlight ordinary Americans who felt betrayed. One 2015 viral post read, "We got slogans, hashtags, and speeches." Meanwhile, the middle class shrinked. That sentiment wasn't isolated. On Reddit political forums, users began documenting what they saw as a growing gap between rhetoric and reality. Threads with thousands of upvotes detailed how wages stagnated, home ownership fell for younger Americans, and student debt ballooned. One widely shared meme from 2016 showed Obama next to his Hope poster, with the caption, "Hope. You didn't expect real change." These weren't right-wing critics alone. Many were disillusioned progressives, disappointed that the man they once saw as a reformer became what they felt was just another polished politician.
What you know now, do you wish you had a third term? You know what, if I could make an arrangement where I had a stand-in, a front man or front woman, and they had an earpiece in and I was just in my basement in my sweats.
But what about scandals? This is where the story turns almost criminal. Benghazi. The IRS targeting political opponents. The mass surveillance programs that ballooned under his watch, despite promises of reform. Whistleblowers like Edward Snowden and Chelsea Manning became fugitives or prisoners, while the administration cracked down harder than any before it. Even Guantanamo Bay, promised to be closed, remained open for business. And then there's the Michelle Obama question. Joan Rivers, before her death, once quipped, perhaps joking, perhaps not, about Michelle being male. The remark, captured on video, exploded across the internet. Days later, Rivers was gone, officially due to medical complications. But whispers of conspiracy still swirl in corners of the internet. Rogan and Leavitt bring it up not as proof, but as an example of how bizarre and hidden the Obama legacy truly is. The first family, often portrayed as untouchable perfection, may have carried secrets far darker than the public ever knew.
Really, it's deeply disturbing to them that Obama campaigned on this idea of protecting our border.
Because we all used to agree on it.
Yeah,
you know,
it
people
became a racial issue with Trump.
The personal dynamics raise eyebrows too. Leavitt points to Michelle's visible hostility in interviews, her clipped responses, her subtle digs, as evidence of a fractured marriage beneath the public smiles. Again, it's not mere gossip, it's part of the larger theme, an administration built on performance. Critics argue that even the most personal aspects of their lives seemed curated for mass appeal. Their vacations, their Spotify playlists, their photo ops, each carefully released to reinforce the image of a modern, relatable first family. Behind the curtain, however, the narrative of tension and secrecy lingers. And the evidence doesn't stop there. Articles from outlets both mainstream and independent detail Obama's post-presidency wealth. The man who spoke about income inequality now owns multi-million-dollar oceanfront estates in Martha's Vineyard and Hawaii. Climate activists note the irony. His own warnings about rising sea levels don't seem to apply to his real estate portfolio. A 2019 Politico piece even questioned whether his lavish post-White House lifestyle undermined the very credibility of his climate activism.
I'll recall, just flashback to 2016 and the years after, the entire Trump 1 presidency was embroiled in this scandal that was perpetuated by the Democrat Party.
A New York Post headline from 2021 put it bluntly. Obama throws massive birthday bash at $12 million estate while Americans struggle. The optics couldn't be clearer. Once again, the brand mattered more than the reality. Photos from that party leaked online, showing celebrities shoulder to shoulder without masks, despite ongoing COVID restrictions. To critics, it was the ultimate reveal. The rules applied to the people, never to the elite. But Rogan goes further, describing Obama not just as a failed president, but as a hologram. A smooth-talking projection, adored by elites, but incapable of producing real-world change. The comparison sticks. After all, wasn't his presidency filled with illusions? Promises to end wars while starting new ones. Assurances of transparency while running one of the most secretive administrations in modern history. Speeches about unity that left the country more divided. And Karoline Leavitt doesn't let the younger generation forget it. She emphasizes that for Gen Z, the myth of Obama doesn't hold the same shine. They see the curated Instagram-style presidency for what it was, hollow. The hashtags, #hope, #change, were nothing more than marketing campaigns. TikTok clips now mock his "Yes We Can" speeches, with edits showing drone strikes, economic charts, and stagnant wages playing in the background. The younger audience, raised on memes and quick fact checks, is less swayed by the elegance of delivery and more interested in receipts. The most chilling angle comes when Rogan highlights the duplicity in Obama's treatment of truth. He recalls how easily Obama could pivot from condemning racism to weaponizing accusations of it against opponents, turning the national conversation into a political tool. It wasn't about healing, it was about control. The divide and rule dynamic, critics argue, helped cement his party's hold on cultural influence, even as policy achievements lagged behind. And that control didn't stop when he left office. Many argue his fingerprints remain on the Biden administration. Policy choices, staff members, even talking points feel like a continuation. An Obama 3.0 without the charisma. The performance continues, but the script feels recycled. Commentators on X, formerly Twitter, often joke that Biden's teleprompter speeches sound like Obama wrote them, and perhaps in many cases he did. The crime then isn't theft or violence, it's deception on a national scale. For 8 years, America was governed not by a leader, but by a brand. A brand so powerful it convinced millions that speeches were solutions, optics were outcomes, and charisma was policy. The real legacy of Obama, Rogan and Leavitt argue, is not progress. It's inertia, perfectly packaged and sold as hope. And in that sense, his true crime was not failing spectacularly, but succeeding in convincing a nation that nothing was something. The evidence piles high. Social media posts resurfacing, articles dissecting the economic stagnation, investigative reports on drone strikes, viral threads exposing contradictions in his climate rhetoric. Each piece on its own might be dismissed, but together, they form a dossier of deceit, a case file on America's most polished political brand. And so the question remains, what was hidden? What truths never made it past the branding machine? Was the Obama era simply a masterclass in political theatre? Or was it something darker, a carefully controlled illusion masking systemic decay? Now it's your turn. What do you think? Was Obama simply a skilled communicator in a broken system? Or was his entire presidency a carefully orchestrated deception, a crime of optics against the American people? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe Rogan and Karoline Leavitt are right to tear down the myth? Or do you think the truth is somewhere in the middle? And if you want more unfiltered deep dives into the hidden pasts of political figures and celebrities, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Because the story doesn't end here, and the next chapter might be even darker.